Hi guys, it's Stephanie. It's February 10th and it's Thursday. Yes, so I work today, but today is my last day before my 3 days off, which means I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So yesterday I got my laundry done, so that's one less thing that I have to do. That's right. However, today I will go to bed a little bit earlier so I can get up earlier and enjoy and make the most of my day. I might want to go out of town, try to discover new areas to fly my drone. I haven't flown it in about a month. It's time to get it out. So anyways, today's topic, I want to talk about the 10th state to sign into law a ban against transgender participating in female women's sports. It's getting worse. It's like a wildfire. So before I continue, I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and to those that may be visiting for the first time. If you find a video that resonates with you, please consider hitting that subscribe key, but don't forget to hit that top bell so you continue to get notifications of all my uploads. We'll be right back. So here we go. I have my favorite hot cup of tea. I've been drinking a lot of tea in the past few weeks. It began when I caught a stomach virus or a stomach flu about 2 weeks ago. But whether I have a flu or not, I'm drinking this because this has helped keeping me warm. I love it. So anyways, as I was saying, this week, South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem signed a law barring trans athletes from competing in girls and women's sports, making South Dakota the 10th state in the U.S. to do so. USA Swimming changes rules for trans athletes, acknowledges that men have an advantage. Now, just the title of this sounds discriminating because they didn't even address the trans people appropriately. It's horrible. Remember my last video? I told you that if you're in prison, you have more rights, more freedoms, more services, okay? And more special things that can happen for you if you're in prison. You get free education, free health care, and you get respected. Okay, in prison. All right, look what's happening to the transgender community. Okay, it says here that the USA swim teams acknowledge that men have an advantage. Addressing a growing controversy within its sport, the governing body for American competing swimming released new rules on Wednesday that place major new restrictions on male to female transgender athletes due to what the organization calls competitive advantages for male athletes. Sometimes when you fight for your rights, you move one step backwards. And then in instances like this, you go back 2 to 3 steps. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. But of course, this headline is coming from the Christian headlines. The Christian colleges, Christian universities, Bible thumpers, they're the ones that's heading up these allegations against the transgender community. After all, Governor DeSantis went to a Christian university to sign into law a ban that stops transgenders in Florida, okay, male to female, that means a trans woman or a trans teenager, cannot compete at the same level as other cisgender women or girls. He did this at a Christian college. That's right. Why? Because the Christian colleges and schools, whether they're private, whether they're public, they support these bans. Okay? So, I'm going to read you a few paragraphs here. So anyways, the new rules by USA Swimming were released nearly 2 weeks after the NCAA also tightened its rules for transgender athletes. The NCAA, okay, that's the female basketball, okay? If you're a trans woman, you cannot play in the female basketball teams. The NCAA said its new rules will reflect those of the national governing body, which is USA Swimming. The controversy was ignited by the success of Penn's Leah Thomas, who swam on the men's team for 3 years before swimming on the women's team this season. Thomas has broken multiple records and was on pace to challenging the titles in several events of the NCAA championships March 16th through the 19th at Georgia Tech. It is unknown, though, whether Thomas will be eligible under the new rules. Under the new rules by USA Swimming, a transgender woman must have a testosterone level of less than 5 continuously for at least 3 years. Additionally, a 3-person panel comprised of an independent medical experts will determine if the transgender athlete has a competitive advantage over biological women based on prior physical development of the athlete as a male. Okay, as you know, I am a trans woman. My testosterone level is less than 3. Okay, cisgender women, okay, which I mean natal women or born women physically, have testosterone levels. Yes, women have testosterone levels. What that does is it helps them against decreasing bone levels. It maintains a good, healthy bone level, and the presence of testosterone in women, it keeps their sexual drive active. Okay, they have a more more healthy sexual life. Okay, then that's always been known. USA Swimming has and will continue to champion gender equity and the inclusivity of all cisgender and transgender women and their rights to participate in sports, while also fervently supporting competitive equity at elite levels of competition, a USA Swimming statement said. The development of the elite policy, therefore, acknowledges a competitive difference in the male and female categories and the disadvantages this presents in the elite head-to-head competition, the statement said. To bolster its argument, USA Swimming noted that the top-ranked female in 2021, on average, will be ranked 536th across all short course yards in the male events in the country. The new policy applies only to elite competitions. Meanwhile, a group consisting of 16 Penn swimmers and divers and their families released an open letter Thursday asking the university and the Ivy League to abide by the new USA swimming rules, according to swimswam.com. So basically what's happening here is they're curtailing all transgender from competing in female sports. And they have the backing of the legislature. And they've formulated laws. I can see with some of this trying to be fair, because several videos ago I explained to you that they have to be more focused and more educated on who they should apply this to. Okay, this legislature should and can be applied to late onset transsexuals for obvious reasons, because they transitioned past the puberty time. If they had transitioned at a younger age, before puberty, before their bodies were raging or began to rage with testosterone, that would be a different story. Like for that person that competed as a male for 3 years in swimming, he was already a champion at state level, but then he transitioned and became a woman, and now he expects to continue after he was already a champion as male before he transitioned, to go ahead and compete against women as a trans athlete. I can sympathize to some level, but I think what they need to do is they need to educate themselves on the physiology aspect of the changes of the body. But instead what they're doing is they're following the Christianity colleges and schools and the churches. What do they know about transgender and their physical changes that they go through? Whether they transitioned before puberty or after puberty. So right there, just because they're just taking the leads along with Christian schools and churches, it's biased. It's biased. I don't agree with that. I think what they should do is look at the individual cases of the trans athletes. Because I tell you, there's some strong, competitive cisgender women too that can beat cisgender men, let alone trans women. So this is going to be ongoing, and it's just going to be one of those roadblocks that we're going to have in life, you know. And they're always going to find something or another to put out there to dehumanize us. But I do agree with it to some extent, but not all of it. I'm trying to look at things from both sides, but at least I'm looking at it in a very educational, informative view because of my own experiences, physically and mentally. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough battle. This is going to be a tough battle. Now we have 10 states who have banned trans athletes, and you better believe it that more states are going to follow suit. But I also don't oppose the idea of perhaps the best thing to do with the late onset trans athletes. Maybe it's possible that we can have independent sports. You know, I think that's a great idea. And I think right now, I can't speak for the entire LGBTQ community, but I can tell you that it's quite possible that mentally, maybe some trans people might feel maybe less of a woman if they're made to swim or compete only against the trans people. It could be a psychological thing also. But I think what we need to do is look at the fairness side of it. I really don't want to attack the female sports. I don't. Yeah, I'm a female as well. And I'm a voice for the trans community. But I also have to see things before all this explosion happened. You know, because now we have more trans people coming out in huge, unprecedented numbers. You know, like never before. That there was never an impact on athleticism across the board. But because trans teens and people and children are coming out a lot younger, and now they have to go through their education, and while they're in school, they're deciding that they want to partake in school sports. So when they do that, obviously, they have to be in the women's teams because of these battles we're having with trans issues in school. You know, the bathroom issues and gym issues. Now you have a trans woman or trans teen in high school who cannot go in the same shower stalls as the opposite that they felt. I know I wouldn't. You know, why should a trans girl in high school shower with boys? That's out of the question. It's out of the question. Okay? And I think along the way too, there could have been some pedophiles who was pretending to be a trans person so they can assault women in the women's bathrooms. So that's in the mix, okay? Those were not trans people. Those were just criminals. And they've muddied the water somewhat, okay? But most of those accusations were something that were conjured up by the parents and the families trying to show concern for their children in school. You know, maybe they assume that, or they have no education as to what extent the body goes through when they're taking estrogens and testosterone blockers. Do they not know that the male anatomy, the sex organs, are impacted in a way that they should have no concern about a trans woman getting an erection? That's the way it is, you know. That's a sign of uneducatedness to me. There's going to be a lot more happening in society with these issues. And I hope that one day there's a peaceful resolution where everybody can agree, because it's really getting crazy. Now we have 10 states. Before you know it, we'll have 15 states, 20 states. It's horrible. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. They need to keep religion out of this, and look at this at a more educational point of view. But anyway, I just thought that this conversation was very, very interesting. How more states are coming on board with this, and these, of course, are all the conservative states. All the conservative states that are anti-LGBT are the ones that's opposed to this. Now, in these conservative states, there are transgender communities and LGBT communities, but they're small numbers. They're very sparse. Okay, there are only maybe a few cities within each state, not a whole lot. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great week. And if you guys have any comment that you want to share along with the story, I'll be more than happy to comment on that. I hope you guys have a nice evening. Guys, that concludes this evening's film.